the website, in most businesses' case, is not for us. We are not the buyer. We are not the person that's going to be landing on the site and potentially request to do business, book a demo or book a sales call, whatever the action is. We've probably got a warehouse full of our goods, our services, or if we're a technology business, we've got almost unlimited supply within reason of what we can deliver. So one of the biggest issues is that folks kind of spend all this time designing, building the copy, the content, the messaging, building out the pages, but they do it all for what they think looks good as either the marketing or the founder of the business. The issue with that is unless you fit your ideal client persona 100%, which is pretty rare, your focus clients, aka the people that you want to inquire on your website or to buy your stuff, are probably not going to resonate with it as well as you think they are. I'm sharing how your B2B website can generate a steady stream of qualified leads or demos. In this episode, we break down everything from customer research, key website pages. We talk a bit about marketing and what to avoid to make sure your B2B website is going to act as your very best salesperson around the clock, 24/7, attracting, resonating with, building trust with, and converting ideal clients into sales calls or demos. This was taken from my recent chat with Ryan Alford. Oh, if you haven't yet, why not join thousands of legends enjoying my weekday newsletter for unusual B2B marketing tips, fresh podcast updates, SEO ideas, and more? Head over to breakingb2b.com and hit the newsletter tab. Right, let's dive into the episode.
You have this both quandary and opportunity with websites that you want it to look great. You want to be proud of it. You want this aesthetic that, has been the historical perspective of your brand and all those things. While in reality, you have this great opportunity, like you said, to deliver a sales funnel and leads if you can get out of your own way. And yep. I think even today, working with particularly medium to larger companies, and maybe even small companies, it just depends on who's in charge and what their aesthetics are. But I think there's even today the battle that happens with what it looks like versus what it does. How do you approach that? And is that still a common refrain that you hear?
Yeah, what it looks like versus what it does. So I think, if I may, there's a mistake that a lot of folks make with their website. And one of the biggest killers of website performance is ego. So to dive into that a bit deeper, what I mean by, and that could be if you're running a small business that you're the founder and you're doing all the work on your website yourself, or maybe you're getting a contractor. Maybe you're a larger organization and you've got a marketing team that are going to be delivering it. You've got a team of execs that are going to be delivering it. But what you've got to realize is, as much as we want our websites to look great, have great features, have pages that share information about us, and so on, the website, in most businesses' case, is not for us. We are not the buyer. We are not the person that's going to be landing on the site and potentially request to do business, book a demo or book a sales call, whatever the action is. We've probably got a warehouse full of our goods, our services, or if we're a technology business, we've got almost unlimited supply within reason of what we can deliver. So one of the biggest issues is that folks kind of spend all this time designing, building the copy, the content, the messaging, building out the pages, but they do it all for what they think looks good as either the marketing or the founder of the business. The issue with that is unless you fit your ideal client persona 100%, which is pretty rare, your focus clients, aka the people that you want to inquire on your website or to buy your stuff, are probably not going to resonate with it as well as you think they are. And we're often quite biased, right? And I've made this mistake on my own websites in the past. you become too attached to it. You start using copy and text like on your website headlines, like award-winning, best in class, we've been in business 100 years and all this kind of stuff, which we think in theory is going to work. But most of the time, if folks are landing on your website, especially your homepage, which we can dive into the fundamentals in a sec, usually folks want to quickly get an idea of kind of exactly what it is you do, how you're going to help them, and how they can take that next step. Because especially in the times we're in now with AI fast improving, people are time short. So they don't have tons of time to scroll through your website and work out exactly what problems you fix, the value you bring to their life, and how to be able to contact you. So that's a taster into it.
For sure. I love the thought, when you started it, this is the first thing you said, ego. We all, think we know what's best, and we have what's in our mind. And a lot of times that's serving, like you said, ourselves instead of our audience, instead of our target. Because I know it reminds me a lot of like discussions I've had over the years with, marketing executives and clients, and like having to tell them that, the bragging stuff, the speed, the feeds, the stuff that you're so proud of, about your product, about your service, about what you do. You're so proud of it, but it doesn't translate to necessarily solving an issue or a problem for your client. And that sounds very much like the discussion we're talking about now when framing up, especially the key positioning on the homepage, right?
Yeah, you're exactly right. And these issues, like you mentioned there, Ryan, they're not just appropriate for your website. They're appropriate for marketing in general.
Yeah.
Like, these are fundamentals, right? When you're building marketing assets, be that website content, website messaging headlines, be that ad headlines, whether it's for Google ads, whether it's for LinkedIn ads, Facebook ads, etc., whether it's other marketing collateral, you've got to put yourself in the shoes of your focus clients, the people that you want to stop in their tracks, attract, grab their attention, and then point them to take an action, whether that's to learn more, book a demo, check out your case studies, whatever. So one of the biggest things that you want to do, like at the very start of a website exercise, is actually kind of spend some time, whether that's yourself as the founder or with your team, and kind of really get down to basics. Like, what exactly do we want to get out of this website? Because I think that's just an exercise that people don't do. They get into the design, they get into the exciting stuff, but they skip out the fundamentals. So in B2B, like most B2B companies, most folks that I've interviewed, maybe 350 or so marketing execs on Breaking B2B. And from my experience, typically what they want to see on a B2B website is a quick idea of kind of what you do or the problem you fix and how you help. They want to see some proof of results. So that could be case studies, testimonials, review videos, accreditations, walkthroughs, etc. They want to see some kind of proof of your offer in action. So if you're like a technology or software business, maybe it's a demo before trial. They usually want to see how much it costs. So some kind of indicative area of pricing, whether that's ballpark figures, starting ranges, or packages. They want to get their questions answered. So maybe you've got FAQ sections on relevant pages that address those key questions that come up in sales calls. And then they want an easy route to speak to sales. So maybe that's weaving in a Calendly or similar, so someone can book time directly on a sales rep's calendar, or using a tool like Revenue Hero, which is similar to Calendly, or a simple to fill out form or book a call, whatever that is. So that's usually kind of the fundamentals of what people want out of B2B site. But one tip that you can do is, if you really want your website to resonate with these target clients that you actually want to buy your stuff and generate leads for on your website, this is something that's skipped by a lot of websites, and it's understandable because it takes a bit of time. It's customer research. So what I'm saying here is basically interviewing anywhere between, if you can, 5 to 10 recently signed or recently onboarded clients, or if you don't have access to that as a new business, maybe folks that fit your target persona, like the people that you want to go after. And you may have to offer them something like a free consult or something perhaps that's kind of a free low ticket item you can provide. But from these people, you can get golden nuggets, which is really going to make sure your messaging, your headlines, your content resonate, because these are the people you want to attract and convert. this is where you can ask them things like, if it's a recently onboarded customer, what was the frustrating problem that kind of tipped you over the edge, was becoming so annoying that stopped you in your tracks, that kind of made you decide that it's time to fix it and reach out to a company like ours? And that's going to be really impactful for your headline. Something like that is useful to know. What do you care about seeing on vendors in our sector, in our industry's website? Like, what are the main things you quickly want to learn, see, and take action upon? Again, these are golden nuggets because it's actually going to give you spill the tea on what people actually care about seeing on your site. How do we stack up, in your opinion, to other agencies or other companies or other similar businesses in our sector? And if you have got an existing website, you can ask questions around what do you feel is missing on our current website. So that can give you some real insights. Like, they might say, we don't have a pricing page, or your case studies are quite thin, or I couldn't really understand exactly what it is you do, or it's quite difficult to contact you. So my point here is, you're doing these 5 to 10 interviews using a transcript tool, maybe like Otter or similar, so you can kind of dissect the notes after each call on Zoom. And then from there, you want to look for patterns. Once you do 5 to 10 interviews, you'll see patterns in people's responses. You'll see common things that come up, like it might be, this is the juicy problem we fix. This is the main outcome people want as a result of working with us. For clients that we've already worked with, this was the main outcome we actually brought to them. Okay, excellent. We can use this problem and this solution in maybe our website headline, i.e. we do X that fixes Y as our headline. And you'll get all this juicy intel that's going to basically mean that you're not designing and building your website on guesswork. You're building your pages, your content, your messaging, and more based on what real potential clients or existing clients care about learning, seeing, and doing. So that's one of the vital steps. It takes a little bit of research work, but if you're a kind of growing organization, it's something that's going to be worth its weight in gold. So it just means that your website's going to convert better, in short.
Let me ask you a question, Sam. And that is very good practical advice. It makes a lot of sense, like when you're listening. You know, the only thing when I think about that, and I think about and I know we're talking B2B and it's different, but so I just want to talk historically. Consumers don't always tell the truth. Whether they're, it's kind of like if Steve Jobs would have asked consumers if they wanted the iPhone or if they wanted an iPod or an iPad, if he would have asked them, and I know that's a transcending category. So, but at the same time, it's like, when do you know your constituents, your consumers, do they really know how to frame and tell you what they want and what they need? Have you ever come across where you felt like, you've been doing that research and you're like, I know what they're trying to tell me, but I don't know if they're quite distilling it to what really is valuable.
Yeah. So there's a few elements to this. So I'm not a customer research expert, but we've interviewed a few on Breaking B2B podcasts. So you've asked a great question there. And one thing you want to be careful with is who you interview. So you don't want to interview folks that are biased towards you. So that could be long-term customers because they like and trust you already. And they're probably just going to say anything that pleases you. Yeah. So if you interview like your cousin, your auntie of course, that you've built stuff for, or likewise, maybe customers that have been with you months or years, don't interview them. Like, they're too biased. You want to interview folks that you've only just onboarded because they don't know that much about you really. Yep. Or prospects that are maybe even a bit cold, that just fit that kind of profile, the type of business, the sector, the turnover that you're going after. And the reason we want to do kind of 5 to 10 or so interviews is so we're not biased. So we're looking for those patterns and what people say. And you've got to dig in. So you've got to be willing. So for example, if you said to them, look, what are the main frustrations that might cause you to look at a product or solution like ours? If someone gives you a surface level answer, like, I don't know, maybe revenue is dropping, you'd say something like, well, why is revenue dropping? And that's where they might say, well, we're finding it's taking more and more time for us to deliver this service or to deliver this solution. And then you go, well, what do you mean by that? When they might say something like, let's pretend for a minute we provide accounting software. They might say, well, we're finding that our reps are stuck in Excel sheets for hours each day trying to work out these statistics and these solutions, and you go, okay, so what's that doing to your business? Well, all these hours could be used on client work, which would mean that we could turn over stuff much quicker. And that's where you're getting to the root of the problem. So there's a few elements to it, and this could be a huge discussion in itself. But one is interviewing folks that aren't biased. 2 is not being afraid to dig in when you're asking these kind of questions. And thirdly, it's looking for the patterns. So the things that keep coming up, whether it is around the problem you fix, whether it is the value you provide, kind of the solutions and what folks care about, to dig out those golden nuggets that you can then weave into your website messaging, ads messaging, etc.
Yeah. I've had this debate with people, and that's a great answer, Sam. I think it makes a lot of sense. And I've had this debate with certain people at a broad level of and I'm using the word, we're talking about B2B consumers here in this context. So, but I'll instead of calling them B2B professionals, we'll just call them the consumers of this discussion. So, are consumers, are they problem aware? Do they truly know? It's like, do they know their problem? I have that discussion with people sometimes. Like, I'm not sure they know their problem.
Yeah.
And then,
not always.
Yeah. It's like they know there's issues, but they don't know exactly what the problem is.
Yeah. Usually as business owners or as marketers in general, when you're doing this kind of stuff, you have to go in with a thesis or an assumption. So you might say, like, for example, like if I give you like a tangible example, like what we've got as a business, we have 3 main problems that we tend to fix. One is you're frustrated when target clients search for your offer or your service. Competitors are constantly ahead of you on Google, kind of stealing traffic or an opportunity. The second is maybe you're getting traffic to the website, but it's failing to convert into a steady flow of inbound leads. Or the third is you've got an agency already, but perhaps you're a bit wary or a bit concerned they're not delivering. So that was the 3 problem statements that I refined over time, but I didn't use those straight away. In my case, I put them to the test. So I'd grab this intel from customer research, but then I thought, wait, let's test this out. So I did cold outreach using it, cold email. I did cold calls myself to my target market, to VPs of marketing, CMOs, marketing officers, demand generation folks at kind of high-level B2B companies, and see if it resonates. I put posts out on LinkedIn with these kind of problem statements and then weaving in stories to see if it resonates. So a big part of not just website design and messaging, but marketing in general is going in with assumptions or ideas and then running experiments to see if they actually resonate with your target market. Some will, fine, keep them rolling. Some you might test on ads, for example, for, a couple months, maybe less, and then they flop. So great, I've learned that doesn't work. Let's move on to the next test.
Was there anything in that exercise that surprised you? Like, was there maybe a hypothesis that you would just absolutely have thought to be true that just proved otherwise?
Well, I mean, I've fallen flat on my backside many times with things. Not so much with that, because I had gathered that with kind of interviews that I'd done over so much time on my podcast and stuff like that. So I was pretty sure. But when I first started, for example, when I first started selling websites and SEO and stuff like that, I used to think that the only way that I could do that was to wow potential clients. So I thought that, as in my case as a founder selling, that it was my responsibility to just knock the socks off people straight away. And before they could kind of get a word in edgeways, I should say things like, well, we've been in business 10 years. We've won all these awards. I've got all these case studies. I've done all this stuff, which there's a time and a place for that. Mm-hmm. But as you probably know, if it's the first time speaking to someone on a sales call, usually you do a bit of a discovery. So after you've done the pleasantries, you say, well, what are you doing in business right now? Like, what's working? What's not? What's caused you to kind of be open to this conversation?
Yeah.
How are you tackling this right now? Like, how's it working out for you? What are you struggling with? And then you dig in. Like, a lot of marketing and sales is digging in to understand the prospect's current world, any frustrations they're having, if they're expensive frustrations, and where they're trying to get to. Like, a great book in this is Gap Selling by a chap called Keenan. Like, that told me a lot of this kind of stuff, working out the size of the gap and if it's something you want to do. But yeah, that just gives you one example. Like, I used to think that you had to wow people all the time, and really it's more about understanding and resonating with folks compared to just trying to kind of make yourself sound really cool. Which links back to the website.
I'll distill that. It's about them and not you.
That says it in a lot fewer words. Thank you.
Yes. Talking with Sam Dunning. He's the founder of Breaking B2B. Sam, let's get back to the nitty gritty on B2B websites. I know we've talked about some of the high level fundamentals, but maybe talk about some of those deadly sins and, what is the ideal B2B website?
Let's dig into kind of a few of the fundamental pages, and then we can tear some of those apart. So we talked a bit about research. We touched a bit about the homepage. So there's a good test that you can run on your website now. So there's a test coined by a chap called, I believe, Donald Miller. Great book called Building a Story Brand. He says you should run something on your homepage, the hero area, which is the banner area before you scroll, called the grunt test. And what that means is, could you stick your homepage in front of a caveman sitting in his cave in caveman times? He fires up his laptop. Someone stuck a laptop in front of him for the first time ever. He's wiping the dust out of his eyes. He sees your homepage, and could he grunt exactly what you do, how it helps him, and how to get in touch within 3 to 5 seconds of firing up that homepage screen on his laptop? If not, then your website's not hitting the mark, and you're potentially losing traffic and potential leads. So you could run that test right now. Like, you could get someone that's never been on your website to check it out. Maybe it's your grandma, maybe it's your friend, maybe it's someone you're connected to on Facebook or LinkedIn. Get 5 to 10 of those people to run that test. Do they quickly know what you do, how it is you help, and how to get in touch? If not, then you need some work on clarifying that message straight away. So that's one killer test on homepage. And then typically what you want to do on the homepage is, after you've got that clear message statement, you then want to weave in some social proof. So that could be clients you work with, logos, accreditations. Maybe then as people scroll through, you talk about the problems you fix, how you fix them with your key solutions, and you have clear call to actions for folks to maybe view more work or book a call or whatever's relevant. But yeah, if we dive into some of the fundamentals of websites, one big sin that I see is page speed. So as I was mentioning earlier, people these days, if they're firing up your website on their laptop, their PC, or their mobile phone, and they're usually time sensitive. So if you're waiting for a site to load and you want to get some business done, and it's taking 3 seconds, 5 seconds, even 10 seconds to load up on their device, then people are going to get frustrated, have a bit of a sour taste in their mouth about your site, and probably head to a competitor that gives them a better experience. And then you've wasted a potential referral, you've wasted ad spend, or however you've guided them to your website. So a quick fix you can do by that is you can go on a tool called Google Page Speed Insights and copy and paste your website URL, and it gives you actionable tips. It will say, look, this is your website speed right now out of 100. Here's some main issues that you can do to improve your website speed, and it gives you some tips straight away. But common culprits we see, a lot of folks these days, websites are built on tools like WordPress. So some of the main suspects of a slow website are things like way too many plugins. Maybe you're trying to embed too many videos on the page. Maybe you're not optimizing your website images. So you've got massive JPEGs that are like several megabytes when you could do WebP-based images. So those kind of things, just trying to put too much content on the page that's perhaps going to take ages to load, too many plugins, or maybe the website platform like WordPress just isn't up to date, which can slow things down. So those are some of the common culprits on that side of things. And then I'll go into a couple more. So one controversial one that a lot of folks, especially in the B2B or the service-based industry space, absolutely hate is sharing pricing on the website. So I used to be in the other camp. I used to think, no, it's you don't want to share your pricing on your website. Like, you want to generate as many quote unquote leads or inquiries as possible. But after kind of running businesses for many years, and after having to deal with so many inquiries that just simply didn't have budget to work with us, be that for a service or a product, I kind of learned the hard way. So if you're a technology business, like you sell software or software as a service, it's easy to have your typical bracket like tier 1, $25 a month, tier 2, $50 a month, enterprise plan, speak to sales. Where it gets a little bit tricky is where companies that are often more of a bespoke, more of a custom service, that's where they'll push back on me. So they might say, well, I can't share pricing, Sam, because everything we do is tailored. And I'll say, that's fine, but surely you have a rough idea, i.e. even on my kind of pages on our website, I'll say like prices start from $3K a month, whether that's for SEO, or prices start from this. Or maybe you have 3 tiers, right? Plan A, typically 3 to 5K. Plan B, 5 to 10. Plan C, enterprise, speak to sales. But one thing is, when you build out a pricing page, you'll notice that it's probably one of your most visited pages on your site, because people want to check how much it costs. The reason it's good is because it will weed out tire kickers. So if you're getting a lot of poor fit inquiries, it'll weed those out. But it can be a really good page to actually build trust. So you can, on the top of your pricing page, share your main plans and price. But then you can weave in some social proof to build trust. So maybe a relevant customer review video, a nice testimonial with a story of problem you fixed, how you helped the customer and the results they gained with their picture and their job title. And then this is the little hack. As you scroll down, you can have an FAQ, frequently asked questions section. But here you have questions that you actually get asked on sales calls and common objections. So for example, on our pages, I literally answer things I get asked on sales calls like, Sam, why is your SEO so expensive compared to other agencies? Isn't Google Ads way quicker compared to waiting for SEO and organic search to take impact? How do you compare to other businesses in your space? Like all these questions I get on sales calls, I address them head on. The reason I do that on the service and pricing pages is because it saves me time on sales calls, and it even speeds up deal cycles. As folks read this, they're more educated, they trust me more for being transparent, and then they're more inclined to do business with us. So those are just a few tips, but there's plenty more.
Sam, do you think your prospects spend more or less time than you think on the website? You know, like I have that, debate sometimes, or internally probably more than anything, like how much time are they willing to spend here, in like today's age?
All depends, right? So in very simple terms, the visitors to your website can be distilled into either warm prospects, warm traffic, or cold traffic. So if they're warm traffic, i.e., let's say someone referred or recommended you, probably not going to see that much. And your website's got to do quite a lot wrong to deter that prospect from getting in touch with you, like booking a call or whatever.
Yes.
But it can be done. So for example, if you make some of those deadly sins, like someone recommends you, but then they go onto your website and they think it takes ages to load, doesn't work very well on my smartphone, the design resembles that of a potato, and I'm trying to click onto pages, they're just taking ages. I can't see any results, any testimonials, any examples of work. Can't check the price. Someone's going to get frustrated. You can even drop off warm leads. And they might not spend that much time. All they want to do is validate you, check that they can trust you before they get in touch. But then if we flip it to the other end of the spectrum, Ryan, cold traffic, maybe there's someone that's come in from an ad, maybe they found your blog post on Google. That's when your website needs to work a heck of a lot harder. This is the first time someone's ever stumbled on your website. They might be reading an article, they might have found a service page. Straight away, you've got to give a good first impression. Again, the design's got to resonate, messaging's got to resonate, like we talked about earlier with research. It's got to load nice and quickly. It's got to give them the information they're looking for quickly. If you're selling a high ticket service that's several £1,000s or dollars, then they're probably not going to necessarily inquire with you on the first time of visiting your website ever. They might flick around a few pages. They might check out your results, your case studies, your price. They might look at some FAQs, but then they might hop off your website. So they might spend a couple minutes, and that's where you might want to consider doing something like retargeting. So running retargeting ads to channels they hang out on, whether that's Facebook retargeting, LinkedIn retargeting, etc. Because not everyone's going to visit your, going to inquire on your website for the first time. So that's kind of how you can split those two types of traffic. And you'll see with cold traffic, your site's got to work a lot harder compared to kind of warmer prospects that are referred in.
Yeah, it's true. And, depending on where your traffic sources are, might guide some of those decisions. If you feel like, if you're driving a lot of cold traffic, then, you have one. And it does bring up the, how many masters are we serving? I'm sure you get into this. So there's a lot of businesses that if you're selling one thing, it's sort of an easy, there's the right way to do it. And there's, you're driving leads. I'm sure you get into these discussions, maybe companies that come to you that are more complex, tons of departments, tons of services and those kind of things. How does the process work? I mean, how do you have those discussions with those more complex businesses?
Yeah. That's where websites get more in depth, when companies have tons of services, especially in the software space. If they're kind of well-established, massive enterprise level companies where they've got perhaps businesses they've acquired, they've got all these different tools in their tool set, all these different software as a service offerings, that's where it gets complex. And that's where websites can even attract, like you said, tons of different personas. So there might be one kit of software, but they're having options that sell to marketing execs, that sales execs, to operations, to HR. And that's where, again, the research is fundamental, because you've got to know all those personas. You've got to know the problems they care about, the expensive problems. You've got to know their goals, jobs they want to get done, and the end results they care about. And you've got to consider a lot of stuff on this website. You've got to consider all the main service pages that they might potentially want to see. You've perhaps got to consider how this website is going to rank on Google search, so organic search from an SEO, search engine optimization play, and how it's mapped out from that sense. You've got to consider that there might be colder, kind of medium level, warmer traffic, and what we want folks to do when they land on this site. So we want to give them a clear idea of kind of what we're doing, how we're helping. Maybe if we're providing a high ticket service, then initially we want folks to sign up to a lead magnet. So maybe download a guide, or we want to point them to our podcast, want to get them to check out our email list. So it's so much of this is understanding those persona, understanding those actions we want people to take, understanding what the route to market is, i.e. what different marketing channels are we going to be driving to this website, whether that's SEO, whether that's Google ads, whether that's kind of social ads, which are going to be less higher intent because people are browsing social, whether that's email, referrals, etc. What pages we're driving people to. So a lot of this, like you'll see from what I'm saying, is just getting back to those basics and understanding who we're targeting, where we're bringing them in for, what's going to resonate with them, and what kind of actions we want them to take. And there's no long or simple answer. A lot of it involves a lot of it involves a lot of planning out, researching and designing, and then building and then testing over time, right? It sells. You should think of your website as almost a living thing, because there's always things that you can measure with your analytics, like the traffic, conversion rates, session time, how long people spend on it. There's always things you can do from that side of things, and analytical. You can always be talking to prospects to learn what they like, what they think could be improved, etc. So there's always edits that you can be making to your site as well, from a content standpoint, design, page standpoint, and so on.
I think this is all, as you were talking and I was thinking through it, like distilling this into the opportunity or the challenge, depending on how you want to look at it. When you think about websites versus landing pages, and so that's a lot of the challenge, because you think about a website, and I always, the classical sense, thought of it as the brochure for the brand, in a way. Your digital brand, your digital brochure. But the promise and the opportunity of digital marketing, ads, content, LinkedIn ads, Facebook ads, YouTube ads, wherever, or programmatic, wherever your B2B ads might be, keeping this B2B focused. The landing page for that ad needs to quickly pay off and get to a lead ultimately. Mm-hmm. And I think that's some of the fundamental challenge and then you get into SEO and thinking about, how to rank for keywords. Well, if you've got a brochure type site, lots of copy, lots of opportunity to bring to life keywords on page, off page, all those things. I think that's the challenge in my mind, I think, for companies and even myself in thinking through landing page versus website brochure information.
Yeah.
How would we distill that for our audience? that dichotomy.
I'd even throw one more in the mix as well. I'd say, like I always say, if you're a brand new company and perhaps you're bootstrapped, like you've got very limited cash, I actually would say, don't worry about kind of research, all that stuff I've talked about until you're more evolved and you've got a good flow of revenue and cash flow. I'd encourage you to do a more simplified website.
Yeah, true, like landing pages.
Yeah, exactly. It might be a landing page, might be 3 to 5 pages, just homepage, services, results, contact, that kind of stuff. But to your point, for a landing page, I think landing pages are great if you've got one specific offer, one specific action you want folks to take. So if you're sending traffic from, I don't know, Facebook ads, whatever, and your one action you want them to take is to download a guide, a playbook, or watch a video, or maybe even a low ticket investment like $50 for this thing, it ain't going to work on something that's high ticket because it's their first time encountering you from the ad. So it's got to be a low ask. And that page has got to work super hard. It's got to kind of build trust, share results, all that good stuff. If it's a one single offer, landing pages are great. They can guide people to download that guide, download that playbook, sign up, invest in a low ticket offer, fine. And then you can email them over time. They join your list. You can remarket to them, and then you might be able to push them into higher ticket offers over time. But especially in business to business, B2B marketing, nothing's ever that simple. When you're in high ticket offers, when the service that you're providing is maybe several grand a month or high tens of thousands a year, people don't just go onto your website once and inquire or buy. It's just not that simple. I'll give you an example. Someone recently came through our website, and we have a field on our calendar booking form called "For How Did You Hear About Us?" They said LinkedIn. On the sales call a couple of days later, I said, "Oh, hey man, like how's it going? What was your route to stumbling upon us today? Was it LinkedIn?" He said, "Oh no, man, I listened to your podcast for like 6 months. Then I connected with you on LinkedIn. Then I saw your content. Then I trusted that you could deliver, listened to a few more episodes, hopped over to your YouTube channel, and eventually reached out."
Oh,
like B2B buying journey. Or high ticket buying. It's messy as anything, man. So landing pages just won't work for that kind of stuff, right?
Yep.
They're going to jump onto a bunch of channels, and your website is one piece of the puzzle. Your Google ranking might be another piece. LinkedIn might be another piece. Facebook might be another piece. Your podcast. So they're all assets, right? They're all distribution channels that feed into it. Landing pages have their place, but if you're selling higher ticket stuff, it's just not that simple.
Yeah. It's like the customer journey for B2B. It's fun. There's a great discussion around that. And again, asking the customer, it's like, it's dangerous because, and what's funny to me is you'll hear all of that, like what you just described. And then when you get underneath it, hey, my buddy Fred said you guys are awesome. Like they did all of that, but it started with, cousin Fred at the grocery store line or whatever. There's always
attributing sales is a funny thing.
Yeah, exactly. That's where some of the biggest marketers I've worked with before, they're like, if you ask them, is your marketing working? Absolutely. I know where exactly 50% of it works. It's always that other 50% that keeps them up at night.
It is.
It all works.
It's very difficult.
It's just you don't always know the path that they're going to find it.
That's it. You can never know 100%. I mean, you'll notice a lot of what I talk about is involving your clients, your customers, getting regular feedback loops from them, but using the tools. So with websites, you've got tools like Google Analytics and various other tools that can tell you like someone converted or they inquired on this channel, or the website's picking up traffic from various channels like Google Ads, organic search, Facebook ads, email, whatever. Then you can use forms on your website for how did you hear about us, make them fill out that form. Then you can ask them on sales calls, and you can constantly do a feedback loop. So you can make informed decisions based on all those different channels and putting all those different pieces of data together. Can you be 100% sure? God, no. You've got to constantly evaluate it because, like I say, the buying journey is so messy.
Yes. Sam, as we close out here, any final tips, tricks, or things that you counsel people on?
Yeah, I mean, to summarize what we've discussed, I mean, your website can quite literally be your very best or be your very worst salesperson, depending on how you research, design, build, update, and market it. So in most companies' case, they want it to be their best. So don't neglect it. Even if 90% of your business is word of mouth or referrals, like we touched on earlier, those folks are probably still checking your website, and you don't know what you don't know. So you're not going to know about a lead that you missed. You're just going to miss it. So if that website isn't hitting the mark, like it's taking ages to load, it's not presenting the information they care about seeing, it's not building confidence with results, it's not sharing the key piece of information they need, you're losing leads, losing potential business that you didn't even know was coming through the door, and your competitors are getting a free lunch. So that's what I'd urge you to consider.
I love it. Good advice. Though you don't know what you're missing out on. That's the scary thing. You don't know how many people are dropping off if they're not getting to the bottom of at least the form fill or something like that. Nothing worse than that.
And there we have it. I hope you found this B2B website breakdown of use. And if you haven't yet, why not check out our weekday newsletter for more unusual B2B marketing ideas and stories, SEO tips, as well as fresh podcast updates. Head over to breakingb2b.com and hit that newsletter tab. And with that, I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.